Welcome to Bennett's Bike Social. We are not in Austria, despite the noise of the cowbells. We are in the lovely Sardinia. But what's more important is this is Ducati's new DesertX. Now this bike has been so eagerly anticipated. This is a huge bike for Ducati because it's their first bike with a 21-inch front wheel since the 60s. And I can't even remember the 60s and I'm old. This is a dedicated off-road style bike. The styling is obviously from that 90s amazing era of Dakar. You can definitely see that. What they're using is the Multistrada V2 engine in here, which is 110 horsepower. The gearing is slightly different, so it's slightly shorter in first and second, and then everything else is bespoke to the DesertX. Completely new chassis, new suspension. So we've got KYB suspension, front and back, fully adjustable, designed to work both on-road and off-road. We've got 220 mils of travel on the front, 230 on the rear. Ground clearance is 250 mil. We've got big M50 calipers up front. Seat height, 875, but it can be lowered to 845. And then Ducati are actually developing a full lowering kit, which will lower the whole bike, not just the seat height. Power-wise, 110 horsepower, 68 foot-pounds of torque, and as I said earlier, a shorter first and second gear from that Multistrada engine. Fuel capacity, all important, that's 21 litres off the top of my head, which they say, Ducati, they'll give it a 400 kilometre range. In the accessories catalogue, there's even more fuel tanks that you can fit on the back. That gives you an extra 8 litres, which gives you around 600 kilometres on a full range. Fuel tanks as an accessory just feed the main fuel tank. You don't have two fuel pumps. Basically the back tanks feed into the front tank and then the fuel pump feeds the engine. It's that simple. As you'd expect from Ducati, multiple rider aids, full lean sensitive rider aids with an IMU. So you've got rider modes, you've got power modes, cornering ABS, cornering traction control, engine brake control, up and down quick shifter and cruise control. On top of that, you've got sports mode, touring mode, urban mode, wet mode, enduro mode and rally mode. I think I've got them all. That's a lot of tech. And as you'd expect, then price is a little bit high. Just over £14,000. So it's 14,095 in the UK. We've had the opportunity today to test all these rider aids, to test all the suspension, to test everything on this bike. Usually you ride one of these bikes and you do a little bit of road and then a little bit of off-road, but today has been proper enjoyable. Lots of long trails in this beautiful country and some really fast switchback roads. The points that stand out for me, as soon as you get on the bike, the fueling is excellent. The low speed fueling of a V-twin. If you're really old and you're probably thinking V-twin Ducati is bad fueling, forget about that. Ducati sorted that years ago. This is perfectly fueled fueling. Excellent. When you ride it on the road, it does have a 21 front wheel, it does have big travel suspension, but it turns really well and the Pirelli tyres grip really well on the road. They're off-road bias, but they're excellent grip. You can get big lean on this bike with loads of confidence and you've got all those rider aids there to back up. When you then go off-road, there's two modes, which is enduro and rally. You've still got rider aids. The rally is more extreme, gives you more power, disables the ABS from the rear and lets the rear slide a lot more. But enduro for me is absolutely perfect. It's like riding with an instructor giving you instructions through your crash helmet because you can give it 100% throttle coming out of corners and the traction control will allow the bike to slide and then bring it back in line. And it's the same with the off-road ABS. It is really good. The kind of best compliment I can give the DesertX is it goes as well as it looks. I love the looks. I love the 90s kind of retro feel. On the road, the big Multistrada with its 19-inch front wheel feels like a bike with a 17-inch front wheel. And I've said that previously. And this, with a 21-inch front wheel, feels more comparable to a bike with a 19-inch front wheel. By that, what I mean is you're not having to make compensations for an off-road chassis and an off-road dynamics. And then off-road, I'm really, really, really surprised how good it was. It's done everything that I wanted to do. The rider aids are there to help. When I felt confident, I could flick into rally mode and spin the rear and have some fun. And then when I started getting tired, I go back into enduro mode. The big question for me is going to be how it goes up against the competition, because this market is jam-packed. At £14,000, it's gone into GS prices. With power, it's comparable to the Africa Twin. Off-road, you're looking at the Norden 901, you're looking at the KTM 890s. You can even like spec up the Tenere. Aprilia are in there also. There's so many bikes in this category. It's going to be really, really interesting when we get all the bikes together. And that's what we really need to do with this bike. But as an individual test here in Sardinia, it's a huge, huge thumbs up. There's no hill control, the price is expensive, but aside from that, I'm loving it.